All right. Tommy
Good
with
morning,
some new.
everyone. Hey, I've
Yeah.
been playing around. I know we're small, no one's paying attention to copyright laws, but it's if we ever become bigger, and we're gonna have to come up with new music here. It was trying to figure out that, or was this gonna be the opening for us? And I realized, man, that's not going to work. So I was sitting there looking for MP3 files, and I was able to put this. And so hopefully it'll be something different for us. I am no tech person, but trying to put some of this stuff together. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. I like it, Tommy. It's funny. Anytime you hear that sound, that intro music, man, it gets your blood going. I'm like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, well, Jed, I would disagree. What get my blood going is the Carrie Underwood opening to Sunday Night
Yes.
Football.
Yes, I agree. Carrie Underwood. Excellent.
Yep. Or the all-time favorite, the country guy from Monday Night Football back in the days.
I liked him.
Yeah, who was that? I forgot what that guy's name was.
I don't remember what.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, hey, there was a big trade last night. Jed, I appreciate it that you were telling us about the trade. I was sitting there listening. I said, "There, should I mention? No, I'm going to be busy picking up players instead of just telling everyone what happened."
Yeah, you guys are just trying to cheat. See, I was sharing information as soon as I got it. You guys, I texted Tommy and Jimmy. I was like, 49ers pick up McCaffrey, and right like within 5 minutes, Jimmy's like picking up Carolina backs in all of our leagues.
Hey, you never know. Here's my thing. You have a chance of potentially getting a starting running back, right? And we've seen what Hubbard did last year. So I was like, I'm going to go for Foreman because I actually think he'll be the better of the two backs.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. Most of saying that Foreman seems like he has the best chance of the two. So if you were able to get Foreman, or if he's still sitting out there, like Tommy said, I think it's a good chance to take. I mean, there's not many options at this part of the season, so if you can get him, you should.
Well, you look at someone like myself, right? Javonte Williams was one of my second round draft pick. He's injured. He's out for the year. I did not get Kenneth Walker because people are just bidding so high. I've been trying Latavius Murray. I tried Boone. I tried all these guys. It just didn't work. Melvin Gordon, I tried. And so suddenly you see a Chuba Hubbard, the Devontae Freeman. And so you're sitting there, a Foreman. And so you're sitting there trying to figure out, who do I drop? Dobbs I dropped, and all of that stuff just to get me a running back.
Yep, not a bad play. We'll see. And if you were lucky enough to get Kenneth Walker, he did pay out this past weekend, so it seems good. Oh, and anyone who waited there was a game last night. If you waited on Hopkins, man, it looked great. 10 catches, over 100 yards, and we talked about that. I feel like they just picked up right where he left off, and we kind of expected that. Remember last episode we said, don't wait. Like some players, they come back and we said, you got to wait a game. We said, no, put him in because they need him. They're going to feed him. And sure enough, man, 10 receptions. I mean, that looked really great.
Yeah. Now, here's my problem right now with one of my leagues that Jimmy and I have been in the same league for the same guys for 15 years. I now have Jalen Waddle, Chris Godwin, Christian Kirk, Amari St. Brown, Keenan Allen, and DeAndre Hopkins all sitting there.
Oh, Tom, I'll trade you because I got some running backs I got to get rid of.
There you go.
Yeah. I have so much of an influx in wide receivers now. I'm sitting there, man, I'm going to have to start packaging all these different deals, all of that stuff in order to get it.
Hey, can I run through a trade request I got and see what you guys think?
Yep.
So somebody from Japan, this guy from Japan wants to trade me the Bengals defense, Jeff Wilson, and CeeDee Lamb for the 49ers defense, Deontay Foreman, and T. Higgins.
So that's basically CeeDee Lamb
for Foreman and T. Higgins.
Yeah, I don't think that's good because CeeDee Lamb and T. Higgins, that's almost equal. I mean, CeeDee Lamb's a number one, but I don't know. I think
so. I would get Foreman and Higgins, and I would trade away Lamb and Wilson.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you're okay, yeah. I mean, if you need a running back, then I think that's worth. I mean, Wilson is worth nothing now, right? Like, he's
pretty much. I was gonna dump Wilson anyways.
Yeah. And then the defenses. I always laugh if people include defenses in a trade. That's kind of silly. Yeah. It doesn't really matter. So
at the end of the day, all this is predicated on the fact that Christian McCaffrey is going to stay healthy, he has been healthy the entire year. But then at the same time, if he somehow goes down, everyone's going to go after Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, but Wilson
No, but
wasn't
the
doing
other
that
thing is
great.
Elijah Mitchell is slated to come back in 3 weeks as well too, off the IR. So
Yeah.
you have him in play as well too.
No, I would make that trade.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have to give credit to my oldest son. He's the one who he came busting out of his room. I like thought something major happened, you know. And
Yeah.
49ers got McCaffrey. I was like, what? Went and looked.
Well, we knew they were thinking about trading, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm working on a trade for Tommy so I can get one of his receivers.
I mean, now the interesting thing is how will that impact the receivers? Ayuk, Debo, and now with George Kittle. George Kittle has been coming around. For those of you who are waiting, he's slowly starting to come around. Last couple of weeks have been really good signs. This is just going to continue to help the defense, right? I mean, the defense is going to have to spread out. And so I think this is ultimately a good thing. If you have 49ers offensive players, I think you got to feel good about it.
Tom,
if you look at the screen that I have right now, you have Kittles, you have Ayuk, you have Samuel, Jennings doesn't matter, Garoppolo, and all of that other stuff. I would probably argue Ayuk is still there. He's actually trending up. I would say Debo Samuel is the guy who will actually trend down.
Yeah, less balls his way. It's possible. Yeah, they may. I mean, basically just be able to focus on spreading the ball out. But I mean, Debo Samuel, you're playing there's no way you're sitting.
Can you imagine if Jimmy G ends up going to the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl? You know, like then the question then becomes, do they keep him another year? And this was the guy that none of them wanted at the beginning of the season.
I could see that. I could see him going. Yeah.
But let me ask you a question. Wouldn't you say Samuel is very similar to a McCaffrey because he usually played that running back wide receiver role, and because McCaffrey's around, Samuel will strictly be now a wide receiver, which I actually think from watching Garoppolo favors Ayuk and also Kittle's a little bit more.
Yeah, that's really interesting, Tommy. That's a pretty good hypothesis. I mean, we just got to wait and see. You know, it's going to take them a couple weeks to kind of get that. Is McCaffrey going to play Sunday?
Yep, he is playing on Sunday.
Wow, that is awesome. Yeah, that's exciting. I mean, that's a really good hypothesis. You just got to see how it's going to play. You never know, but you're right. I have Ayuk, and Jimmy G definitely. As soon as he was the starting quarterback, I put Ayuk back in because I knew they had that connection, and he does seem to spread it around and not just focus on Debo the way Trey Lance did. So let's see.
Yeah. Hey, but with that said, look at this. I mean, we'll talk about rebuild. They in the last 2 days, they've gotten an extra second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round pick, but more so the second, third, fourth. From what you hear about the draft, it's a very, very deep draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good move for them. I mean, I think, things weren't working. They need to find a quarterback. So I think it was ultimately a good move for Carolina.
Yeah. All right. So let me ask you a quick question. So Foreman is the guy. Agree, disagree? Chuba Hubbard, I think a lot of times he was the first man up. But at the same time, Foreman has gotten more carries in the limited action between the two.
I think Foreman's going to end up being the number one back. I mean, you're going to see them try both of them and see what they do. But we saw what Hubbard did last year. And so I think – and Foreman actually, when he took over for Derrick Henry last year, did actually a pretty decent job. I think it goes back to what you said, Jed, earlier, is they got P.J. Walker, right, as the starting quarterback. DJ Moore hasn't done anything this year. And so the question then becomes what is their offense and who's there, for them to lean on? Is that even going to work as well, too?
Yeah. Hey, would you guys play Tony Pollard or Kenyon Drake?
Tony Pollard.
All right. Yeah. Especially with Dak coming back. Yeah. Exactly.
Speaking of that, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb are full practice participants on Thursday. Hey, look, I've been going around picking up Michael Gallup a lot of times. Hey, there was Darren Schultz sitting there, but then I had Kyle Pitts. So I said, forget it. I'm just going to stay with Kyle Pitts. But Dak Prescott, I have high hopes. He only literally played one game. I'm excited to see where CeeDee Lamb, because I made this big trade with Jimmy for CeeDee Lamb. I'm very excited to see where CeeDee Lamb goes, how he does this week.
Yeah, my only thing is okay, so you got Gallup and you got CeeDee Lamb, right? Gallup has always been somebody that Prescott really likes. And if you look at the numbers from last year when it was Gallup who came back after an injury, he had some really good games. And CeeDee Lamb will run far, right? And he's going to be the person who's going to go downfield. but I still think that a lot of yards is still going to go to Gallup.
Yeah. But at the same time, I really don't care about this because a lot of times I think there's enough balls to spread around for them to have a high offense as well too. So suddenly now you have to pay attention to Michael Gallup. It frees up CD Lamb. I'm hoping for 10 catches for 90 something yards and 1 touchdown. That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah. Next one. Here we go. Travis Kelce, restructuring, freeing cap space. I think something's in the air. On his podcast with his brother, Kansas City Chiefs approached him and says, hey, look, we're going to turn some of your salary this year into a bonus. So you're going to get the money right away. And he's sitting there. They probably wouldn't have offered to me if they weren't up to something. Rumor has it they're planning on signing Odell Beckham Jr. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I heard the rumors as well, too.
Oh, man, that's interesting. OBJ is sitting on definitely a lot of free agent waivers. That's really interesting. I don't know. I feel like, though, Kansas City, again, the whole point is for them to spread the ball around. That's once they got rid of Tyreek Hill, their offensive philosophy is to spread it around. And so I just don't know if there's going to be enough for OBJ to become valuable. But, man, you can't deny the talent. That's an interesting one. I might take that. I wonder, actually, I might even take OBJ over Freeman. That's a tough call.
They were saying what the Rams made an offer, but they said it's not their last offer. But the Chiefs are putting together a package to OBJ as well too. And I do wonder, to what you said, Jed, I wonder if they just realized, like, yeah, it's been good that they spread it around, right? To Hardman, they spread it around to Juju Smith-Schuster, Travis Kelce. But the way that Chiefs work, they need that one player who can go downfield. And they thought it was Schuster, but right now Schuster hasn't been. And if you looked at OBJ last year when he was with the Rams, he was pretty consistent. He actually he had some pretty good games there.
Now, the interesting thing I found on Thursday Night Football is I'm listening to Kirk Herbstreit. He was telling the story that OBJ was made an offer by the Rams. He was so insulted by the offer, he walked out. And so as a result, that's why everyone's pouncing on this thing. I thought that was an interesting story right there. All right. One more thing. Jed, Jonathan Taylor, Shaquille Leonard, Nyheim Hines, all practicing for the Colts. We all know about Jonathan Taylor. I'm excited for IDP because I finally get to play Shaquille Leonard.
Yeah, same. I have him sitting. Oh my gosh, it's been a pain because you can't drop him. So he's been taking up spots, although he gets into the IR. So that's been helpful. But yeah, I'm excited to see how Shaq Leonard does coming back. Jonathan, I mean, this team is, did you guys see that Matt Ryan top 5 in yardage now at the halfway point, which is just crazy. I didn't realize that because he hasn't had that great a fantasy points because there haven't been that many touchdowns. So obviously this is going to help. I mean, I think, well, if you got Hines, you got to probably drop back on Hines. He's back to your bench. Jonathan Taylor, you're starting no matter what. Hopefully this helps Pittman. Pittman had a good week last week, basically because the Colts were just without Taylor. They just threw the ball like nuts. So you got to think if you're a Matt Ryan holder, they're going to dial back the number of pass attempts, focus on the rushing game, but ultimately it should be a good thing.
Yeah. And keep watching for Alex Pierce because I think a lot of times we've seen Michael Pittman continue to drop. Alex Pierce has done really well the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, agree. Pierce was a really good pickup for anyone got him last week. And if you watch the game, I mean, he's the one that has the better chances for touchdowns because he's the one that's getting like the longer bombs and such.
Yeah.
Jim, I saw that you picked out. You probably saw this news from Yahoo News. Kyren Williams is the Rams running back to watch and maybe own. 5th round draft pick sitting on the IR, but slated when he broke his foot during training camp that he was supposed to be taking a lot of carries from Cam Akers.
Isn't it funny how we watch what the other people do in the league and who they're picking up? Because for me, I looked at his like, look, he's taking up an IR spots. He's gonna be somebody that they're looking highly at. So might as well just add him and just see what happens.
Yeah, the only thing I have is the Rams. Since Matt Stafford has come over, the Rams running back, none of them have really been great fantasy wise. They've been too inconsistent, and I think it's just a function of the offense. The offense is really not designed around the running game. If anything, it's designed around the passing game, and then the running game complements the passing game. And so as a result, there's just not that many points for the running back situation. But again, at this point in the season, you're desperate. That's not a bad flyer to take and just see what happens.
Well, especially in a dynasty league, right? When you have somebody like a Williams who's on the IL, and IR, and he might be potentially somebody who might be a starting running back, right? And who knows what's going to happen in the Rams next year? But I'll keep him with a chance, like a Kyle Walker, right? Like you'll pick him up on a dynasty league and spend money on him with the thought that if he does really well and he'll be the starter next year, you've just found a pretty good pickup on the waivers.
And that is Kenneth Walker and not a Kyle Walker.
So,
yep.
Oh yeah, okay. I keep thinking Kyle Walker.
We have a mutual friend, Vince, who actually listens to this podcast. And Vince always tells me that when I make a trade offer, he's sitting there trying to figure out, do they know something that I don't know? So then he has to start researching all those players.
Well, is this Vince Moy?
Yeah.
Yes, because he used to accept all my trades, and now he doesn't accept my trades anymore.
Yeah, because he knows you guys are trying to fleece him. See, you got bad reputation. See, that's why. That's why I said you make trades that are good for both sides. See?
Here's my strategy, right? Long-term versus short-term, right? Mm-hmm. If I know someone's going to be a long-term play and help me down the road, I'd much rather take that player than if I know, like, so for instance, a Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson, for instance, is slated to score double figures before this McCaffrey trade. I'm more than willing to trade a Jeff Wilson for an ETN, even though the ETN thing is he's sharing a backfield with a James Robinson. But my thought is by the end of the year, he's going to be the starter, right? So I'll trade somebody like him. So,
yeah, I'm big on ETN now. I was really worried. I'm glad I didn't drop him because the first 3-4 weeks he was not producing. But if you look, even though the split has still been there with James Robinson, if you look at the yards per carry, it's pretty clear that ETN is the better back. And so hopefully, the thing is Jacksonville's been winning, which I actually think kind of hurt ETN because when teams are winning, they don't want to change what they've been doing. And so that's why there's been still more of the split. But as they go, ETN's going to go.
Jed. I don't care about James Robinson. I don't care about ETN. I just care about Christian Kirk. That's all
well, this will help Christian Kirk. This will help Christian Kirk and Trevor Lawrence too. I think, anyone we were talking about whether or not he's a quarterback to own. I mean, I think he's on his way up. This guy could eventually be basically a regular top 10 quarterback if things continue.
Keep throwing the ball to Christian Kirk. That's all I care about right now.
Well, as I'm talking, I'm sitting here trying to figure out who I want to trade one of my running backs to Tommy, because I know Tommy's not going to accept a 2-for-1. He wants one good player for another good player.
Agree. I'm that way too.
Do you think an Aaron Jones for Amon-Ra St. Brown is a fair trade?
St. Brown, is he back? When is he coming back?
Yeah, he's coming back this week. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, of those two, I would want St. Brown probably. Aaron Jones has been, obviously the Packers are just messed. But
Roger said he's determined to fix it, and it's going to be fixed by the end of the season.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they have if you have Aaron Rodgers, that team is going to turn it around, and so I'm still holding on to Aaron Jones, but that's a tough one. Aaron, this year has been really interesting for the top 10 backs. If you think about Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones,
Jonathan Taylor,
they're not producing at the same level.
Dalvin Cook,
that we were expecting. My son, actually, my oldest, he just was saying he traded Dalvin Cook for Justin Jefferson. I thought that was pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, he got Justin Jefferson, right?
He got Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. That's for sure.
Well, it depends on what you need. That's why I was thinking. I was like, that guy must have really needed a running back. But so I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. And I would probably say is if you have like a 12-team league, a lot of us play in 10-team leagues, but if you have a 12-team league, I would like the 2-for-1 because then I'm playing some small low players, so I need to firm up my flex spot. So then maybe I'll consider a 2-for-1 depending on what that trade is.
Odell Beckham is out there for a lot of people right now.
Hey, Jed, before we go to the starter sale, what are some bets that you like this year?
Oh, you mean this week? Actually, there's a huge so because of the McCaffrey trade, they're playing Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay is going into Carolina, and the odds just jacked up to it's a 13-point swing. Tampa Bay against Carolina. That's a tough one, because that Tom Brady right now is getting a lot of heat, a lot of flack. So I could see them really laying the wood on Carolina. And Carolina's a little bit, kind of in disarray right now. But 13 points in the NFL is huge. I think they actually might not cover that. So I actually would consider taking Carolina in that situation. Yeah, I'll come back to me because I haven't looked at the lines. I was just starting to look at it this morning, but good question.
Yeah. Actually, one line that I would love to pick your brain on: Indianapolis Colts also against the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are up by 2.5.
Yeah. So again, for all you bettors, if you don't bet, the way it works generally is the home team gets 3 points no matter what. And so the Colts are playing at the Titans. So they start saying the Titans are 3-point favorites, but now it's dropped to 2.5, which tells you that the majority of the betting public thinks the Colts are going to win that game, even though it's in Titans Stadium. Man, they're getting Jonathan Taylor back.
The momentum is with the Colts, right?
Yep.
Tannehill's struggling right now.
Yep.
So they're starting to click, the Colts are.
Yeah, I agree. I think I would take the Colts here. The one wild card is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry can go off and win an entire game for you, but I think probably the smart bet is on
the Colts. The Colts have a really good defense, right? Yeah. And so I can see them really bothering up and force Tannehill. Yeah. I mean, they only have Woods these days, right? To be able to receive.
The one interesting thing on this with Shaq Leonard coming back for the Colts on IDP. I don't know if you guys, because IDP is such an individual defensive player, such a unique thing. Most leagues don't have that, right? We're one of the few leagues that has that. What I did was when Shaq was out, I played his replacement. So the other linebacker on the Colts, who then he did really well. But now that Shaq's back, do I have to sit that guy or do you sit both? Or do you play both linebackers? I don't know how it really works when it comes down.
I think for me, I would play Shaq first and see what happens with the other guy.
Bench the other guy?
I would bench the other guy because you never know. He's been on and off. Shaq has been, so you want to see what the next couple of weeks is going to look like. Eventually, my guess is maybe Shaq ends up taking some more breaks, right? And the other guy turns out to be better. So.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, maybe they end up splitting the carries. Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the other guy. The other guy has been really good. I forgot his name. I don't know. Really good.
Hey, here's the betting line that I want to pick up on. It's another boring Monday night game that finally Payne and Eli is showing up for a Bears Monday night game. They usually will skip it if it's the Bears, but they're coming on this one. New England Patriots are 8-point favorites. I actually would take that over the Bears.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. I actually think New England was Zapp is the quarterback. Ramondre Stevenson. They got two decent receivers, right? They got that rookie Thornton, and then they also got Jacoby Myers. I actually like New England. Knowing the Bears, they're going to try to stop them, but they have no offense. I don't know what those guys are doing these days.
Yeah, unfortunately, I agree with you guys. I would take the Patriots in this one.
Yeah. Do you guys think Fields? But do you think Fields is going to progress better as the season goes on? I mean, Mooney started to get some receptions, but I still see him as being really inconsistent.
No, because everything I hear about the offensive line, all the paying attention to, even listening to shows like Wado Sylvie, all of those guys, they are always very critical of the offensive line.
Well, it's the offensive line, but it's not him, right? People still think that he's actually pretty good.
Yeah. No one knows because a lot of times the offensive line, they were going through this 25-minute breakdown from Kurt Warner, and Kurt literally broke down his tape from the last Thursday night game. He showed when he did well in terms of read, how he is progressing as a quarterback, not only through the first read, but multiple reads, what he's skilled at, but where he's really struggling. It was a very fascinating conversation that I heard on that podcast.
Yeah. I like Kurt Warner a lot, and he does do good breakdown. So I should go listen to that.
Yeah. The one thing that Kurt was breaking down is he depends too much on his athletic skills. He's not progressing as a quarterback. And so a lot of times he's just going through the motions, thinking through it versus just throwing. And then from that point, he runs into sacks way too much when the pocket collapses.
My only hope is that everyone compares him to Jalen Hurts. And that was some criticism of Hurts last year. So that's why going into this season, right? Some people were not entirely sure that he was going to be one of the elite quarterbacks. And look, he's turned a corner, but they also put some really good people around him, right? They got A.J. Brown. They shored up the line for him. So I'm hoping that the Bears will be similar as well, too. but it also determines it's really based off of, my guess is Montgomery's going to leave next year. You're going to have Herbert, so I'm hoping that they'll get another good receiver and some linemen for him.
On a separate note, if you guys ever want to hear a fun podcast, last Friday's episode with Mark Schlereth, who appeared on Waddle and Sylvie, was hilarious because they were talking about whether a Washington Commanders guy actually pooped in his pants because the guy kept insisting it was dirt. And then everyone was trying to figure out, is this poop on it? And Schlereth was telling us stories about, for him, when he was on the field, he would just let it go. So hard it just went.
Oh, that's horrible. That's disgusting.
And he was always the center, right? Yeah. And so a lot of times he would just crack jokes that when I'm hiking the ball, everyone thinks it's sweat. No, it was pee.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Hey, a couple of things I want to go through starter sit. Just to note, the Buffalo Bills, Minnesota Vikings, LA Rams, Philadelphia Eagles are all on bye. That means Josh Allen, Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown are all the players who are on bye. That's a lot of players who are on bye.
Yeah.
All right, let me just go through. Jim, I'll start with you. There's not a lot. If you're short on wide receivers, who are you picking? Darnell Mooney against the Patriots or Jacoby Meyer against the Bears?
I think I would go with Jacoby Myers. I mean, he scored double figures in the last few games. Mooney is starting to pick up, but he's still in single digits. I think last week was 9 points, fantasy points, so I would go with Myers.
Yeah. Jed, if you had a chance, which Denver running back are you starting? Melvin Gordon, Latavius Murray, or Mike Boone?
Not Boone. I think maybe Murray. Maybe Murray. I don't know.
Yeah,
I've seen it picked up in a couple leagues.
Did you guys hear the rumors I don't know if it was true or not, but the rumors were that they were going to bench Gordon and they were looking for a place to trade him. Gordon met with the coaching staff and the GM, convinced them to make him the starter. But you're right. I bet they're going to give him a couple more chances. But Murray, if there's one out of those three, you're going to go with Murray.
Yep. Hey, don't you remember when Melvin Gordon turned down that lucrative contract with the San Diego, or back then the San Diego Chargers? And then he thought he was going to bet on himself, and he is not. He should have signed that. He should stay with the Chargers.
Well, it was the same with it was the same year as what's his name, the Pittsburgh guy, right?
Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell. Yeah, both of them turned out, and that was before. That was when running back contracts were so high, and then they turned it down, and momentum swung towards wide receivers.
Yeah, Jim, if I'm sitting there and I have Jalen Hurts and I have Josh Allen on my bench this week because of buys, which one are you looking at? Geno Smith, Trevor Lawrence, Marcus Mariota, or Matt Ryan?
I'll take the chance on Matt Ryan. I actually think he's got momentum on the Saints. I was gonna say Geno Smith or Trevor Lawrence, but Geno didn't have a good week last week. Lawrence is pretty consistent with 14, 15 points. I would take a chance on Matt Ryan because he's got Pierce, he's got Jonathan Taylor coming back. He's got actually a good group of people around him.
Yep. Jed?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I was just looking at the matchups, and you're right. Like, there's some tough matchups. The Jags are playing the Giants. That's a decent defense. The Browns are playing the Ravens. That's a good defense. So yeah, I think you're right. Ryan's. I mean, the one thing I would say is, with Geno. Well, no, I agree with you. Yeah, I think it's.
Don't you guys? Okay, so the other side, Brian Daboll with the Giants. That guy's doing a good job. Like, coaching really matters in this league.
Oh, yeah.
I wish the Bears, because I think he's able to focus on the best player and surround him, and I wish the Bears would do a better job about that as well, too.
Yeah, I think the New York teams, that's been one of the big storylines this year, is the New York teams are finally decent again, right? Yeah. Like, the New York teams now, they're no longer the laughing stocks, and so you can start to really get fantasy points off of both of them.
Yeah. I mean, the Jets are going for 4 in a row this week, right?
Yeah.
The problem, did you see that, who is it? A couple of Moore is asking for a trade now. So some people said he might not play. If you got Garrett Wilson on there, Corey Davis. So they've got an influx of receivers, and my guess is one of them is going to have to be traded. Even Michael Carter. I mean, but Breece Hall is the real deal.
Man,
is
that's one
so
guy.
good.
Yeah, he is. He's really good. So I think between him and Damian Pierce, those are the two guys as far as rookies. It's like if and maybe Travis Etienne. It's like who would you want to have? I think maybe right now it's Hall. I mean, Hall has looked excellent.
I mean, here's the other thing. We're entering week 7, right? By week 10, some of us will know whether or not we're going to be in the playoffs. I mean, if I'm not in the playoffs, I'm going to make a big package for somebody like Breece Hall because from a dynasty perspective, I want somebody like him. Like I'm starting to look at players like that.
I never would have thought, being on the Jets, that Breece Hall would do as well as he is. I thought he would be one of those guys who would just go in there like a Michael Carter Williams, Le'Veon, just to go and die as a running back, but he has done really, really well. Yeah. Jed, let me go over to you. Second string receivers, Michael Gallup or Romeo Doubs?
Oh, definitely Michael Gallup. And I'll tell you why. They're playing Detroit. Man, anytime you play Detroit, the points are going to be there. The Cowboys are playing Detroit. That game is my favorite game for the week as far as fantasy points because they're going to score a ton of points both ways. So Gallup's going to have a lot of opportunity. And Green Bay right now is so just in disarray. I don't think you want to touch Green Bay, until they right things. Although I will say Green Bay is playing Washington, so there's probably going to be a lot of points there too. So there is going to be a chance for Dobbs, but I'm playing Gallup.
Hey Tom, I want to tell Jed, Darren Waller's out this week.
Oh, thank you for telling me that. I do need to sit him then. Yep, I've got him sitting.
Jim, Juju Smith or Robert Wood?
You know what? I'll go with Juju Smith-Schuster. He had a good game last week, scored 20 fantasy points. I think I'll go with him.
Jed, Kenyon Drake or Antonio Gibson if you have no running backs and now you're desperate to fill out a flex spot and you're looking for a running back, Kenyon Drake or Antonio Gibson?
Oh, definitely Drake easily because what's his name? Brian Robinson looked good with Washington last week. So I think Gibson is done. I think they're going to be focusing on Robinson, and Drake looked really great. We can see if he can put 2 weeks together, but he looked really good last week.
But they're expected to activate Gus Edwards this week. So this might be a 1 week thing. I could see them really utilizing Gus Edwards because they really like him when he was around.
Yeah, especially near the goal line. That's when he was always steal stuff. So
if they don't activate him now, he's going to have to go back on the IR for the next few weeks. So my guess is they'll activate him. He says he's ready.
Hey, look, I'm still holding out hope. I banked a lot on Javonte Williams, J.K. Dobbins, and Cam Akers. I'm still holding out hope on 2 of those 3.
Yeah, that Cam Akers one is pretty funny. I mean, he's like pretty much like I don't know what to see. It feels like he's out of the league. Hey, I was going to mention one thing I'm doing in one of my teams just for you stat nerds out there with fantasy. So I had on one team, I had 2 players on IR. And so then it gave me extra slots, right? I got 2 extra slots. One was Nyheim Hines, who was sitting out, and one was Shaq Leonard. I'm actually leaving them because if I move them off of IR, I have to drop a player and I don't know who to drop. So I'm leaving everyone because as long as you leave it set, and I had already set the lineup for this week, I don't have to touch anything, but it bought me 2 extra spots, even though those guys aren't on IR.
Oh,
so it's kind of a sophisticated trick you could do.
Yep. A couple of things is Jed, Rashid White or Khalil Herbert?
Oh, Herbert has looked great. If you look at his yards per carry, he's definitely better than Montgomery. Hopefully, they'll figure that out. But yeah, I take.
Yeah.
Well, everyone's always
I'm doing more no-name guys today is because there's so many people on buys. You're now forced to go on the waiver wire to look at these players.
Yeah,
Herbert's actually, even though he's like the second running back, he's actually scored. He's had decent outings each of the weeks.
Yeah, Jim Duvernay or Wan'Dale Robinson, New York Giants.
Yeah, I actually would take a chance on Robinson. Who are they playing? Hold on, let me look at who are they playing this week. New York is playing.
While he's looking at Jed, Algier or Caleb Huntley out of the Atlanta backfield.
Oh my goodness, I don't know either of those guys. Atlanta Huntley is the running back in Atlanta.
Caleb Huntley or Tyler Algier.
And then who's Algier? He's where?
Algier's the starting running back for Atlanta.
Oh,
I actually would pick Algier.
Algier is probably the better one, but then they had equal in terms of Huntley had a little bit more carries, a little more effective, but I still stay with Algier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tom,
Yeah,
I would choose Robinson for the Giants. I would choose Robinson for that. They're playing the Jaguars right now. I mean, their defense is pretty good, but they are 5-1, and he's the only one left standing because everybody else is gone.
Yeah. All right, guys. You know what? Every single week, I love to be able to spend a little time for the last 5 minutes talking about this. The one theme song that everyone knows, the NBA on NBC.
Is that the NBA on NBC? Oh, I was thinking of what is there a TNT song? Because you guys see that the TNT crew, they all just signed 10-year contracts.
10-year contracts.
Yeah, so that was big. I don't know if there's a song for them though.
But the NBA on NBC, you always knew because that was when Michael Jordan would be running out of the tunnel because he was always on NBA on NBC.
Yeah.
Who wrote that? Who wrote that theme song? Do you guys know?
John Tesh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
I was going to say from opening night, my one favorite, if you guys know, Paulo, I don't know, is it Paulo or Paulo?
Pablo.
It's not Pablo. There's no B.
Hey, let me.
Paulo.
It's Paulo. Yeah, it's Paulo. So Paulo had a great game. If you guys saw, almost had a triple-double. I mean, he looked fantabulous. Zion Williamson, if you guys go check the highlights, he had some monster plays and looked really strong. So those are the two ones that were exciting for me.
Even the Lakers. Did you guys watch the Lakers game last night?
Did they end up winning?
Yeah, I'm looking right now, but they actually looked pretty good. I fell asleep before the game finished up. But,
LeBron James, amazing. I mean, the guy so old and he's still so good. The issue with drafting him is just they're going to sit him to rest him, and so that he's not going to get all the games. But man, I can't believe
they lost.
You know who was terrible? My point guard Russell Westbrook. 0-0, made no field goals. 0 for 11.
If you had him as your point guard, come on, there's definitely better.
I don't know what happened to him. The only thing, Lonnie Walker was really good. Their bench is actually starting to come around. But guess who got injured again or had a scary fall? Anthony Davis.
Oh, man.
Always injured for something. Oh, he's so fragile.
Yeah. I know James Harden, Philly, they put up they came back from like 10 down in the fourth quarter. I was watching that against the Milwaukee Bucks, but then they couldn't finish it off. But Harden looked better.
Yeah, it's because he lost all that weight.
Your favorite guy, Grayson Allen, did decently well.
Oh my goodness! I was telling my wife I will never root for the Bucks because of that guy. That guy is a jerk, and so there's just it's like the Browns with Deshaun Watson. Like to me, you do something like that, and like I cannot root for anything close. Even though I love Giannis, I think Giannis is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One guy, a couple of guys to watch for me. A lot of times, Indiana, no one watches the Indiana Pacers. Benedict Mathurin. Keep watching Benedict Mathurin. If you're playing fantasy basketball, he is a sleeper right there. He had 3 3-pointers, 19 points, 7 rebounds. He is your number 2 option over there. And Tyler Halliburton is going to do really, really well. But you can't go wrong with this individual, and he's been doing really well. And the other guy for me that has been doing, who has shown, Atlanta, Okongwu. Pay attention to Okongwu because Capella started, but he did not play very much. Okongwu did very well, outplays Capella in the season opener, hitting 6 of 8 from the field, 1 of 3 from the line, and boy, did he do pretty well, and he had 9 rebounds.
The other person I like is Trey Murphy. He had 4 triples, 9 boards, and he plays for the New Orleans Pelicans.
Yeah, but the problem with the Pelicans, right? There's too many mouths to feed. Is you're sitting there, Ingram, Williamson, McCollum, and then what happens? So you're sitting there trying to figure out all these different things. Yeah. Again, and then a lot of times Utah Jazz try to figure out Colin Sexton. Jimmy picked up Colin Sexton in the league. That was a very good pickup.
Yeah. The only problem was, so I have Kawhi Leonard. I don't know if you watched it. He's going to sit out against Saturday or Sunday. And he only played how many, like 20-something minutes this week. I hope that they eventually will just let him loose. But right now, they're always trying to manage him, Yeah.
Hey, should I back to football? Should I play at tight end Mike Gesicki, Hayden Hurst, or Robert Tonyan?
Tonyan.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's the only one that they're going to go to that's trusted. He had 15 targets last week. Yeah, Tonyan. I wouldn't go.
Yep.
All right.
And in the red zone, they've been targeting a lot with Tonyan. I actually like Tonyan a lot.
Actually, the other person I wouldn't mind playing if you didn't have Tonyan would be Hurst. Hurst is actually being targeted quite a bit these days from what do you call it, Burrows?
Yeah.
One last question for me: Joe Burrow or Tom Brady?
Burrow.
Ooh, that's tough. But yeah, Burrow's been coming on. He had a tough start to the season, but he's been coming on the last few weeks.
I would say Burrow.
Speaking of Cincinnati, who's been quiet? Joe Mixon. I have not heard anything from Joe Mixon.
But you know what? Because I've got Joe Mixon on a couple teams, he gets your 14, 15 points. So I'm happy with him. There's no pizzazz about him. He's not going to score 30 points, but he's been pretty consistent. Yeah.
Jamar Chase finally had a good game for you, Jimmy.
Yeah, I know, 40 points last week. So
and the funny thing is, if you watch that game, Joe Burrow came into the stadium wearing Jamar Chase's LSU jersey, so knew he was going to feed him the ball. He just knew, because that was the stadium that they won the championship in.
Yeah, I am trying to decide. I'm going to give Drake London a couple more weeks, but in a non-dynasty league, I'm almost done with him.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm in Dallas. Actually, where am I on Wednesday? I think I'm in Austin. Well, we'll get together. I think I should be able to. Maybe I'll record in Austin, but if not, then it'll probably be the both of you guys. No, you're traveling.
I'm in Las Vegas on Wednesday, so I'll be watching some Battle Bots. So we'll see some.
We may need to do it Tuesday, Tom. Tuesday night.
Yeah, we'll have to figure something out.
Yeah. Yep. All right, guys. Talk soon.
All right,
Good to see everyone.